Democrats want to play a game of Are You Smarter Than a Republican? Jasmine, not to be confused with Davy Crockett, says she'll take on the best.
When you bring up the idiot known as Elon Musk, he knows how to hire smart people, but don't conflate that and believe that he is the genius, because he ain't. It says a lot when you literally are supposed to be the leader of the free world and you're worried about a rising sophomore in the House.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Or you wish she was on your side. He also called you low IQ. I'm sure you're aware of that. Would you be willing to take an IQ test publicly, head-to-head against the President of the United States?
Absolutely.
Jazzy said she'd win a battle of wits with DJT, and Musk ain't a genius. Where'd she get her confidence?
I actually wanted to be an anesthesiologist. So I've always been really good at math and science, but I didn't want to talk to people.
You wanted to put people to sleep, and you kind of are doing the opposite thing now.
Yes, I want them to be woke now.
Democrats like Crockett keep telling us how smart they are. But where's the proof? What's one good idea Democrats have had in the last 20 years? Name one. They're great at telling other people what to do, but why does anyone listen? The people telling you what to do have never done a thing, and it's starting to sink in.
Lowest net favorable rating since the 90s. What do you think's driving that? Why are Democrats so relatively unpopular?
A sense that Democrats were cultural elites on how they talked, issues they cared about, all the DEI programs. And so essentially, I think the vast majority, a lot of people in America in the middle of the country thought Democrats were looking down on them.
Yeah.
And they weren't competent to govern.
There's another word for that: snobs. We live in a representative republic. Politicians are at least supposed to pretend to represent the people. The country says, we don't want DEI. Democrats say, yeah, you do. The country says, we don't want gay porn in kindergarten. And the Democrats went to the Supreme Court and said, yeah, you do.
Pride Puppy was the book that was used for the pre-kindergarten curriculum. That's no longer in the curriculum.
That's the one where they are supposed to look for the leather and things and bondage, things like that.
It's not bondage. It's a woman in a leather.
Sex worker, right?
No, that's not correct. No.
Gosh, I read it.
It's a drag queen.
Drag queen and drag queen.
Drag queen. Imagine going all the way to the Supreme Court to demand drag queens in kindergarten. Catholic parents, Jews, Muslim parents all said no. But Democrats said, hey, we're going to teach your 6-year-old about gay sex, whether you like it or not. The country in a landslide election said, we don't want boys in girls' locker rooms. And Democrats said, you're all bigots, and we'll see you in court.
I'd like to announce that I'm suing the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the United States Department of Justice. Here is the opening line of our lawsuit. Minnesota brings this lawsuit to stop President Trump and his administration from bullying vulnerable children in this state. We will not participate in this shameful bullying.
Tampons AG is taking Trump to court, so high school girls have to shower with boys. This is the party who said, believe all women. And all women said, get these guys out of the showers. They're creeping us out. This is the party that said college boys, before they kiss their girlfriends, have to ask for consent. And now they're saying boys can just waltz into the girls' locker room, strip down, and no doesn't mean no. These snobs think they know better than the president, and not just Trump. A new report in the New York Times says Joe Biden didn't want men playing in women's sports. But Susan Rice told him, yeah, you do. Guess who won that debate? Not Joe. Susan Rice overruled the president of the United States. These snobs told you you were a gullible rube if you thought Joe Biden was lost in an Italian field. He was just going to go shake some hands of the parachuters. You've probably never even been to Italy, you country bumpkin. You don't even know how it is there. Not an iota of shame is entered into their brain. A CNN journalist asked a new media journalist who just got credentialed to the White House this. Listen.
You don't deserve to be here because you're not a real journalist. What's your response to them?
Well, I'm pretty sure the group of people in there spent, 4 years covering for someone who was essentially dead, and that's being charitable in my description of him, a president by the name of Joe Biden. So to all those people who are apoplectic over having new media voices, you guys failed, and that's why we're here.
CNN journalists are so fixated on their title that you never realize other people were doing your job and doing it better. The only real credential for a journalist is honesty. Just because you have a CNN business card doesn't make you a journalist. It just means you work for CNN. Snobs are obsessed with status. Journalists are obsessed with truth. Jake Tapper, about to release a book about the Joe Biden cover-up. Jake Tapper, he's acting like he discovered the cover-up, even though the whole country knew about it while he was denying it. We finally have a president who's alive, and these snobs say the president's just better off dead.
Did you like the 4 years of auto pen? Did you like the 11?
Yeah, actually, the markets did, the economy did. Yes, actually.
No one's
yes.
wages went up,
okay.
And you had 11 million illegal aliens come into this country.
Yep.
I know that's okay with you, but you're worried about this one going back. The rule of law was
I am worried about the rule of law.
Yeah,
yep.
But not for 11 million. They totally ignored the rule of law coming here. Now you're talking about it again.
The snobs love a dead president or semi-dead president because it makes them feel smarter and more powerful. And they can tell the president what to do and he can't say no. The snobs loved it when the stock market controlled the White House. And now the executive producer of 60 Minutes is quitting because he's demanding total control. He's saying, we want to lie about Trump every Sunday at 7. And the Paramount chairman is like, not great for business. 60 Minutes has been sued by Trump for being unfair, and CBS has a deal that needs Trump's approval to go through. So the 60 Minutes chief was fighting back tears, saying he did nothing wrong. Grown men in the media are crying and won't admit they tossed softballs to Kamala. Guy's a real drama queen. He thinks the country wants to hear Trump hoaxes all fall after football. The country voted and said Trump's not Hitler. But these arrogant peacocks say, we don't know history.
Do we wait until he's Hitler? At what point do you say this guy is a threat to whatever? I'm going to quote the great Barney Fife. Nip it in the bud. That's what I say. Nip it in the bud. Don't wait.
First, Carville says Democrats should play dead. Now he says Trump should be dead. Carville's telling you to do one thing one day, the next day it's the exact opposite. If this guy was your doctor, your trainer, your financial advisor, you'd fire him. You'd think he was crazy. But he's a political strategist, so you're like, oh, okay. Hollywood says the country's just racist.
America made a decision that I strongly disagree with, and it seems that we are reaping the whirlwind right now. Oh, he's a bigot, so... It's a belief that there's a hierarchy of racial groups and that his group is superior, genetically superior. He believes that. Right. Whenever he talks about competence and qualifications, any white man will do for him.
More minorities voted for Trump than any other Republican in 20 years. But John Legend is so insightful. All these blacks and Hispanics were tricked. They were duped by a white supremacist president. If only they had the emotional antenna of John Legend, a singer. Snobs usually traffic in the superficial and can't see who people really are and what really motivates them. Most of the country has a connection to Trump that goes much deeper than race. They trust him. They trust his track record, and they trust his vision for the country because he believes that they love him as much as he loves them.
But among those who voted for Donald Trump, they're going to back him no matter what happens. If the markets go down, they should have gone down. They were too high priced. If countries stop doing business with us, it doesn't matter because we shouldn't be doing business with them. That the Trump voters are willing to justify just about anything that Donald Trump does because they are truly loyalists. And I've never seen anything like this in my political career, that kind of commitment to a president, even in bad times. Those who voted for him are still behind him, and they will justify just about anything.
The president doesn't talk down to the country. He gained their respect because he punched the snobs in the face. and gave the American people license to live their lives without being nagged, censured, and disrespected. Democrats thought they could just talk at you and win you over. Trump talks to you, and he listens. And even after a shellacking, Democrats don't want to talk to you.
I don't really talk to people who voted for Donald Trump. Like, I don't need to talk to them, because if we look at the last election, 90 million eligible voters did not vote. That's a whole lot of people that we can reach.
I think you should talk to people who voted for Trump. And the reason I think you should is because then you'll understand the why. And I think that's where Democrats just simply failed.
Fair. Yes.
They didn't know, they couldn't understand the why.
So remember when Newsom told Tampon we need to understand the other half of America, and Tampon said, no, we don't. They should just go and crawl under a rock. Tampon was supposed to win the Heartland, and he just told the Heartland he's better than you. George Clooney has some more advice for Democrats after his last act in politics gave birth to Kamala. George is now telling Democrats they need better representatives with a sense of humor and purpose against charismatic Trump. Clooney's basically saying Democrat politicians need to be more like him. And if Clooney thinks he can be president, why doesn't he run? Actors, singers, lawyers, CNN, Tampon, they all know better. When the voters tell them something, they just sue. Wannabe anesthesiologist says the pioneer who's putting men on Mars is an idiot. It's comfortable to be a critic when you have no skin in the game. What many of these snobs don't get is that we're watching them take an IQ test every day. And every day we see the score.